You want to train employees to have difficult conversations. If you want to run a high-performing team that can speak candidly and engage in difficult conversations, there's one thing that you can do to have an immediate impact. And if you stay till the end, you'll be able to face your fears of having difficult conversations so that it becomes a strength. There is literally only one piece of advice I have for you, and that is own it. Own and admit your mistakes. Apologize for what you've done publicly and privately with members of your team.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
The delusion that leaders have that they must present a strong front, free of mistakes, doubts, lack of knowledge, is a leadership archetype pulled from inferior models of power that many still hold on to. In fact, you may even face people on your own team who will warn you to not admit your faults, to protect your image. Don't listen to them. They're crazy. They're on the old program. They're clinging to a paradigm that is not as effective as what new leadership and behavioral science has shown us is a better way to engage your team. So I want to tell you a story of something that happened to me when I was working as a coach in the oil and gas industry. And I saw this happen several times because whenever a mistake would happen, whenever I was coaching a leader and they made a mistake, I saw this as a huge opportunity. And I had this guy, he was the COO of the company, and he had made a pretty big mistake. And his team was frustrated with him. And I had talked to him about it. And we scripted an apology that was really nice and was going to allow his guys to then give him feedback and gain new information so he could transform how they were attacking a project. Instead, in the moment of truth, as he sat before this board of men, and it was all men because it's oil and gas, he said, I heard from James that some of you guys are upset with some of the things that have happened, and so I want to hear what your problems are. He did not apologize. He threw me under the bus, and then he opened the door for them to try to be vulnerable and express something to him when he had done nothing to be vulnerable himself and show them that he himself had made a mistake. The team shut down. They lost confidence in me because they felt like I had thrown them under the bus. I was unable to help a guy who was not willing to face his own mistakes and create an environment that was safe. And that team never performed well. In contrast, I coached another guy who had a team and he made a mistake, as everyone does. And he was worried about it. And I said, hey, this is an opportunity. Bring the guys in, apologize to them. Ask them what they would like you to do. And he did it. And he brought him in and he said, hey guys, I did this, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. I don't know how we move forward with this, but I'd love to hear your suggestions. The team was absolutely dumbfounded. I could see it on their faces. Unfortunately, in that moment, they were so taken aback by this new behavior from this leader that they didn't really engage that much. And when they left, the leader turns to me and he says, that didn't work. They didn't say anything. I'm so embarrassed. And he was feeling like he'd done something to maybe harm his power as a leader. Interestingly, each of those guys came to him later on his team and they said, hey, thanks for saying that. I really appreciate that. And then they admitted within themselves things that they were struggling. It opened up, that they were struggling with, and it opened up conversations that they had never been able to have before. So when they were planning new projects, reaching goals, talking about where they were going, they were now able to discuss the real roadblocks facing them. Simple things like, I actually don't understand the assignment. I know you want me to do this, but I don't know what this means. These become conversations that allow a team to transform itself and chase what really matters. But when we hide and we posture and we show, hey, I'm a leader, I'm perfect, I've got all the ideas, and I'll never show you my weakness, your team responds in kind. They will mirror what you deliver to them. When you have the opportunity to admit a mistake to your team and own it and hear their feedback, you open the door to true understanding, to real innovation, because now your team feels they can pitch in. They can offer to you, before you have a problem, the fact that they're struggling. And you can get ahead of that, and this is where your team becomes highly, highly functional. Because now you can be honest. You don't have to hide. That fear of showing up perfect is gone. You have created, by walking through the fear of the facade that you feel you have to maintain and breaking it and showing up for real. It takes courage to do this. I know it does. But when you choose to do that, you form for yourself a team of power, a team that gets into the real conversations that must happen in order for you to be successful at a level very few people reach. But you got to be brave. You got to admit faults. Admitting your faults, it changes everything. As simple as this concept is to implement, admitting your faults to your team, there is an underlying issue, which is fear, and you have to acknowledge it. Fear resides in our body to protect us, and we instinctually, in many cases, are troubled by feelings, emotions that we don't like to feel. Fear is one of them. Nobody likes to feel fear, right? It makes you uncomfortable. Fear will tell you, when you push it away, you don't get to hear the wisdom that fear has to offer. When you ignore it, you only hear the delusion. And the delusion in this case is that if they know you've made a mistake as a leader, they'll no longer respect you. They will no longer be able to follow you. They will no longer think that you have the answers. These are the things that we create around this idea of a leader that is infallible. And that is a presentation that is unrealistic. It is a presentation that separates you from your team so they don't actually want to follow you because, they think you're broken. Unfortunately, many people still hold to that image of a leader, and they think that that's the way to be because of history. But I tell you, we have enough research in behavioral science to demonstrate that honest, open communication, real conversations, which are terrifying to have the most impact on those around us. So when you have that opportunity, when you face it, you can admit, man, I was scared and I said something in a reaction to that event that I regret that I made. I wish I hadn't said that. And what I wish I had said is this. And you can give an example, of what you wish you could have said. And then you open that space for your team to themselves admit that they make mistakes and that they need help and that they need clarity. These are the things that come from walking through that fear. But if you can't admit that you're scared, to own that mistake, to change your behavior, you're never going to walk through that barrier and do it. You'll be like the guy in my first example, where he sat down, he knew what he was supposed to say, and he moved away from it to maintain an old paradigm of leadership that he felt comfortable with. He was not ready to trust the research, because to trust it requires a leap of faith. It requires you to walk through that fear that you hold within yourself when you ignore it, of all the delusions that this is a bad sign of leadership to admit there's faults. That's a delusion. The wisdom is you should have some fear because you want to make sure you're sensitive to these people. You want to make sure that you deliver your message in a clear way. And you want them to understand that when they make mistakes, you'll hear them as you expect them to hear you. There's wisdom there if you'll listen to it. So speaking of fear, if this is something you want to deal with and you're feeling trepidation and showing up like that, here's a video, how to face the world without fear. Check it out. It's worth seeing. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. I'm glad you made it this far. If you like what you got, the content, hit the bell, subscribe so you don't miss any other content. More videos to come. Speaking of videos, here's that other one that I just told you about. How to face the world without fear. I'm no liar. Check it out.